Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Thrive Suite Productions. It's January 31st, and on this day in 1953, revenge was on the agenda for several baseball team owners, dealing a financial blow to Bill Veeck and the St. Louis Browns. Bill Veeck was the P.T. Barnum of baseball owners, or maybe a more updated reference would be the Jackie Moon of baseball owners. He was a promoter always looking for new and sometimes strange ways to attract fans to the ballpark, but in the early 1950s, the Browns were in financial peril. Despite the best efforts, Veeck could not get people through the turnstiles consistently. After the 1952 season ended, Veeck saw the increasing importance of televised games and came up with the idea that revenue from broadcast rights should be shared with visiting teams. Other teams, recognizing the gap in popularity between them and St. Louis, voted the proposal down 7-1. After the defeat, Veeck instituted a no-pay, no-television policy, meaning teams could not broadcast their games on TV or radio if they did not share a portion of their earnings with the Browns when they played games on the road. On January 31st, 1953, New York, Boston, and Cleveland retaliated by refusing to schedule any night games with St. Louis, which were more profitable than day games. Now stunted in another revenue stream, Veeck started looking for buyers for the franchise. The Browns would eventually wind up in Baltimore and become the Orioles, in large part to what happened on this day in 1953. Also on this day in 1920, Joe Malone scored 7 goals as his Quebec Bulldogs beat Toronto 10-6. Malone's 7 goals is still the most scored in an NHL game 104 years later. He had hat tricks in both the second and third periods. And in 1993, Dallas blew out Buffalo in Super Bowl 27, but the game is a little better known for Don Beebe chasing down Cowboys defensive lineman Leon Lett after a fumble recovery, knocking the ball out of Lett's hand just before he crossed the goal line, resulting in a touchback. It had no effect on the final score, really, with the Cowboys winning 52-17 and easily covering the 6.5-point spread. That's all for today. Thanks for stopping by and giving this episode a listen. If you like the show and have a brief moment, how about leaving a 5-star review and a comment on Apple Podcasts? I would certainly appreciate that. Also, check out the show notes for other ways to help the show. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with another This Day in Sports History.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude. And I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.